Well, hello, my friend. My name is PEtrovick, and for the past 25 years, I've been teaching, coaching, and training people how to create a better quality of life, primarily through the network marketing profession. Today I've created a lifestyle that most people would only dream about. I have to tell you, though, it hasn't always been easy. Like most people, my journey has had lots of ups and downs. And what I've realized is that success and prosperity have a lot to do with our thinking and our mindset. And every once in a while, we need to reach out to mentors, people who are where we want to be, and figure out how they've created the success that, we lay awake at night just dreaming about and just wanting it so bad. Well, I've created this series, and I call this series Prosperity and the Mentors. And I've actually had the privilege of meeting and building relationships with some of the best people on the planet when it comes to building a successful business, creating a prosperity and abundant quality of life. And my intention with this series is to take you behind the curtain and kind of introduce you to who they are, what they're about, and how they've created the quality of life that they have. I want you to understand their habits, their philosophies, maybe some of the tools that they use to overcome those challenging times to create the quality of life that they have. And my guest today is living the dream. We all have heard about the people who have achieved the pinnacle of success in the network marketing profession. Well, she started out her career as a high school English teacher and a theater teacher. She went on to become a director of research for a Park Avenue consulting firm. She moved to New York City, which is where she met her husband, Dave, and they've been married now for 36 years. That's another story we have to jump into at some point in time. He was a leading business manager and account exec for the entertainment industry. And while most people would think they have, quote unquote, arrived, they felt somewhat trapped in their 40-story New York Manhattan office. And they were almost prisoners to their success, working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Not the quality of life really that they had dreamt about. And what they really longed for is to create a business where they could actually work together, to utilize their talents and skills. And back in 1987, they found network marketing, and they've never looked back since. Over the next 18 years, they built a massive organization in 13 different countries, over 100,000 people. And this was before the internet, guys, which is absolutely an amazing feat. They have a global experience and built multi-million-dollar teams in 40 countries now over the past 11 years. They are some of the top international leaders in the network marketing profession. They've been recognized as top diamond leaders. They've served on the Leadership Advisory Council and President's Council. They were honored with a prestigious Global Ambassador Inspiration of the Year Award, Drivers of the Year Awards, as well as being inducted to the company's Hall of Fame. In addition to that, this young lady was named one of the top 100 direct selling mentors. And, they've created the quality of life that they can travel the world today. They've been able to relocate from, New York City back to Pennsylvania to be with family. And, I think at the end of the day, what we all want is to create a better quality of life and be with our family. That, my friends, is what we call freedom. My guest today is the lovely and adored international speaker, trainer, and coach, Ann Feinstein. Ann, thank you so much for being here today.
Terry, it's a pleasure to be with you today. And, I was just listening to your introduction, and it sounded something like my mother probably would have introduced me. But thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Well, you're just an amazing woman. I remember when we first met at one of Art's events, yes, the mastermind events, and I don't know what it was about you and Dave, but you had this magnetic energy. I was really attracted to you guys, and it's no wonder. I mean, you guys are living the dream. You have an amazing energy about you. You're very much a giver in spirit. Thank you so much for being with us today. But take our viewers, listeners, and readers maybe behind the curtain a little bit, Ann, and share your story on where you guys came from because I'm sure there are people who are in that corporate rat race today and want to create what you guys have created.
I guess, looking back, I was one of the traditional kids that grew up and was told, get a good education. So I went to college and graduated from college, and my parents said, get a good education, get a good job, you'll have a good future, you'll have security. And I did all of that. And as you said, I was teaching high school for a couple of years and decided to move to New York City, and basically had to make a big time transition. And I was starting to look around as to where I wanted to be, what kind of business interests I had, and how I could take the skills I had as a teacher and move into the corporate world. And so I ended up in a wonderful Park Avenue consulting firm, and really gave me some significant foundational business experience, and was able to go behind the scenes, as you say, into many different corporations, and found that security just wasn't there. I mean, you could have a really high paying job one day and the management team decides to find somebody and go in a different direction. And I was working in the high technology area. So my responsibility was to research the best people to take over those positions in some of the highest and top level technology companies at the highest technology related positions. And so that was when everything was moving in that direction of technology. And so I began to look at that and say, gosh, I can see where the corporate world is going. I could see my own situation. And that was, like you said, I was treating this business as if it was mine. And I was working those 70, 80-hour work weeks. And my husband, David, as you said, had his own accounting firm, and he was working in the entertainment industry. So I saw his side of it from being an entrepreneur, having his own business, and saw some of the challenges there. And that is, you're paying everybody else and all your expenses first, and you're paid last. So I started to look at, I wanted to find a business that would give me the flexibility. We lived in Manhattan. We had bought this wonderful place out in New Jersey. We called it our little rescue mini farm, where we could decompress on the weekends. But what happened is that Friday would come, we'd jump in the car, go through the Lincoln Tunnel, get out to the little mini farm, play out there for the weekend, decompress, and then jump back in the car, back through the Lincoln Tunnel, and start all over again. And, we did that for several years. And I finally said to David, there's got to be a business that I could do. And again, this is way before the accessibility of the internet. There's got to be a business that I could do where I could literally work from the house in New Jersey and be able to not only replace, but expand my income, but use the skills that I had. So I started looking. I spent, I must have been 7-8 months looking for a business. And that took a lot of research because we didn't have the access that we have today to find opportunities. And so it was by mere chance that I took a week-long course on how to buy real estate with no money down. Don't ask me. I saw it in the middle of the night and I signed up for the course. And I wasn't even interested in real estate, but I spoke to the woman who was organizing it, and she said, you're going to learn much more how to have broad shoulders as an entrepreneur. So I take this week-long, I ask for the week off. I take a week off. I go to take this course. And I sit next to a guy who starts talking to me about his network marketing business. And he starts to lay out all the attributes and the benefits of having a business that you could work during your non-productive hours. And he started to explain to me about, those products and about the company and about how it works and what the business model was. And I came home like totally excited, insanely crazed. Couldn't wait to walk in the door to tell David. And I literally found myself checking myself the entire ride home because all I wanted to do was take that VHS, that's how old we're talking about, the VHS video and throw it in and show him this because I hadn't even been able to even see it. I just knew what the idea was. And he and I watched this, and I must have watched it 10, 15 times, over the next day or so. And I realized that was the business model I was looking for. that was the business model. I could do this during my non-productive hours. So I could keep my job, keep my financial, and I was being paid pretty good money, being able to stay financially okay, but at the same time, be able to build something, a residual income. I never heard about that before. I thought it was either one or the other. And so that to me was the start. And that was back in 1987. And that's how we entered into network marketing. And once I entered into network marketing, I saw that I really could take my skills that I had and be able to transfer it into, it's a teaching business. So it was easy to go into this with teaching skills or with, business skills or management skills, whatever the skill sets that you have, you can take those skills and you can learn new skills and be able to create a business. So that's how it all started.
Well, I know you and David have been really wildly successful in the industry, network marketing profession overall. How would you define prosperity and abundance today, Ann?
I think it comes down to being in a place in your life where you have choice. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I love about what I do. I have the choice of where I want to work, with whom I want to work, when I want to work. And I have a very, you mentioned about habits and so forth, and I have a pretty good personal set of habits. I have the drive, and I think you have to have that drive. I don't have somebody sitting over my head. I don't have a boss. Didn't want that anyhow. I am self-sufficient. I am self-motivated. And I think that's one of the key factors for most of the successful people in our profession is that they look at the business and they say, it's not just about making money. It's about finding solutions. It's not just about making money. It's about finding the joy in your life. And one of the things that I love about this business is that I can do this from home. I have, a beautiful home out here in Pennsylvania. One of the things that we loved about this profession is that, as you mentioned, there came a time in our life, and this is something that I think most people don't even realize until they go through stages of their life, where you become the sandwich generation. Okay, and those of you that are in the sandwich generation know what I'm talking about. You've got your kids and you've got your parents. And at the time when, back in 2002, when my father got sick, right after September 11th, it was a tough situation. My father got sick, and I realized that David had just sold his accounting practice. He had joined me full-time in our business. And I looked at him and I said, we need to go home. We need to go back to Pennsylvania. We need to be there for my mother and for my father. And so to be able to take a business with us and move back home, which was the greatest joy of my parents, believe me. I mean, they never expected us to ever see us move back to Pennsylvania from New York City, the excitement of New York City. But frankly, I miss the trees and the grass under my feet. And so, there was a part of me that was important to me to get back to that aspect of my life, but also the idea of being able to be with the family during a difficult time. And you just don't realize how that can be one of the biggest benefits. So when you talk about prosperity, to me, that was a huge prosperity factor, to have that choice and not be stuck in Manhattan, worrying and having every time the phone rings, you jolt or wondering how things are going. I was able to just make the decision. We moved back home and we were able to be there and spend the last year and a half with my dad. And I'll tell you honestly, there's no price tag to put on that. That to me is prosperity.
I love it. Yeah, it really is all about freedom and choice. And you are certainly doing that. I want to dive a little bit deeper, Ann, into your habits, your routines. When you get up in the morning, and maybe it's probably changed in the last 10 years, but when your feet hit the ground, what takes place in the first couple of hours? Do you have a routine or schedule in the morning or evening?
I do. The night before, I've always laid out, what my plan is for the next day, if I haven't done that already, because I pretty much have that. Now with the technology that we have on our phones, which is so amazing to me, because I always felt stuck with my computer, in my office. Now I can pick up my phone. I grab myself, one of my concoctions in the morning, one of my energy health drinks, and I sit down and I look at the day. I then have time to reflect on doing some personal development. And if I don't work out in the morning, my day can go right by. So it's really important for me to get up and to work out in the morning. So I have that mental, physical, and purpose set for the day. And I think that when most people have that kind of discipline, especially in a business where it's your own business. I mean, that's the fact here, Terry. You're driving your own business, and that's a beautiful thing. You get a chance to plan your day, to plan your activities, to plan your schedule, to plan your meetings, to plan who you're going to be, where you're going to be. I just said to you, last week I was in Salt Lake City for an event, and Wednesday I'm leaving for Rio. So, I get to make those choices as to where I want to be, with whom I want to be home for the holidays at the same time, and then take off and do the things that I want to do, that I get to do, not that I have to do.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Over the years, Ann, has there been a book or a gift that you find yourself giving away to people on a regular basis?
I love Think and Grow Rich. I think it's one of the best Bibles of personal development. I spent a lot of time and I studied it, and I actually did a whole course, which took many months, going back through it and actually laying out doing all the activities, not just reading. I mean, I think that most people will say, yeah, I've read Think and Grow Rich, but have you actually done Think and Grow Rich? Have you ever been through each of the activities and laid it out for yourself so that by the end, you have a definite major purpose? You have a game plan. And some people may say, well, when you reach a certain level, you've got it all mapped out. And I found myself wanting to improve skill sets. I find that, the way we started our business was one way, which was what people are referring to as old school. Okay. I don't think of anything as being old versus new. I think it's a way that there's a traditional sense of face-to-face doing the business, because that's what we had. As we developed and added technology like we have right here today together as we're talking, I mean, these are amazing tools to add to, the bag of tool tricks that we have in order to be able to do our business and be more effective and more efficient. So I'm always looking at how can I improve my own skill set so that I can be even better able to help the team leaders that I have, to help build my teams in a stronger way, to give them a perspective like we're talking about today in terms of how prosperity and setting up daily activities are important, but also what are those activities? What are those things that we should be doing on a day-to-day basis, and how can we be more efficient today with the technologies that we have today, and not get so caught up in shiny stuff that we're spending all of our time studying and looking for something new, but just be able to take in what's available. So that's kind of been what I would say the major thing that I have utilized is Think and Grow Rich, because I think that as you expand your skill set, you then become even more valued and valuable.
I'm curious, what are some of the skills that you've been really developing and honing and sharpening?
I think that there's the whole area of social media is something that most of us who started, before that time period, we have to embrace it. It's here, and it's a very powerful way to do our business. I think there's a right way, and then there's a better way.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's any wrong way, but there certainly are better ways. And that was something that I really wanted to get clear on. What are the best ways for me to teach our teams how to utilize this? I think that sometimes people think of social media as a bulletin board, when I think of it more as a place like you do for giving people value and content. And I think that we attract more people by being the person of value, than we do by, plastering all kinds of, I want to sell you all the time up on our social media. And so I really found that that was something that was very vital to my own business development. And so I started doing things that would put me in a position to be able to provide value to people. And that meant looking at social media and looking at live social media. That was something also, I have to tell you that it was one thing to put posts up, and it was one thing to put, nice little articles and so forth, and occasionally doing an offline video and posting it. And then somebody said, oh, you've got to start doing lives. And I don't know about you, Terry, but I finally, after 25, 30 years of in the profession and standing up on the stages of the world with thousands of people there, sitting in front of that camera, knowing it was live that went 3, 2, 1, on, was probably, I can remember, having no saliva in my mouth and my top lip was stuck. Okay. And this was just to do a promo for the training I was going to do later in the evening. So, before I even turn the camera on, as a woman, you'll understand, ladies, I'm fixing my hair. I'm putting my lipstick on 16 times. I'm checking to make sure everything is okay. And then I have to push the button. And I didn't have a time frame that I had to do this for. I was told, go practice by doing a promo. So I looked down and I see one of my little Yorkies sitting on the ground looking up at me, and I grabbed her. And I had this Shari Lewis moment. I don't know if you remember Shari Lewis. You may have been too young. But Shari Lewis and Lamb Chop were like the thing back when I was growing up. And there I am holding her. She's looking at me. I'm talking to her. And that's how I did my first live. The place went nuts. Okay, so what's the lesson here? The lesson is many times we have to step outside and expand our comfort zone. And if you think that there aren't times when any of us, okay, don't have the dry upper lip and the beating of the heart, okay, it's because we're trying something new. And it's something we've never done before. But you know what? We're willing to go give it a try. And I love it now. I love doing lives now. I think that you can feel your audience. You can feel the people there. You can add so much more content. They can really get to know you. And you've been a master at that. I've seen all the lives that you're doing. And I think that now that we understand a little more about how this all works with social media, we can see that that's the best, has the best engagement. And I can remember when one of my posts went to 2,400 views.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, this came from doing a little research on a topic that I was interested in that related to my business. And this is what I teach our team. Do a little research, make it your own, and go do a live about it and offer people a solution. And this thing went crazy. Now, I'm sure there are other people that have 10,000 views, whatever. But for me, that was exciting to see an average of 1,000 views and then having it top up to 2,400 views and thinking about the first time when the upper lip was stuck on the teeth. Okay, so is it worth it? This is what I say to our team all the time. You bet it is. And if you're uncomfortable, just go do it anyway. Okay, and you're going to be bad first, and you're probably going to suck at it a couple of times. And then all of a sudden, it's going to get comfortable. And you're going to be fine with it. And all of a sudden, it's going to be one of the best tools you've ever done. Because now people really get to feel you. And today, it's all about how authentic you are, how real you are, how people feel you. People want to join you because they like you, they trust you. And I think that's another very important prosperity principle.
I think that's amazing, and you're a great example of stepping outside of your comfort zone, no matter what level you are, and that's called leadership too. So congratulations! I love that. I will have to go find that video because I'm looking forward to seeing that first video now.
I think it's hidden.
Has there been a purchase, Ann, that you've made in the last 6 months for $100 or less that has had a positive impact on your life or your business in some way?
Yeah, I've actually bought a couple of courses. And as I mentioned, these are courses that relate to social media. I'm always taking one thing to the next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for people who are, it's interesting. I have a friend of mine who's become a friend of mine who was, as she says, the fourth grader who's teaching the second graders. So she's only, the 2 grades difference. And the reason I chose to go with her to take this course, and we've become very good friends, is because she said something, and it was so simple. She said, when I first started a couple of years ago doing this, I didn't even know how to cut and paste. And I thought, well, gosh, I know how to cut and paste. So I'm like 3 steps ahead. And then it was the authenticity of just taking it and breaking it down into simple little steps. So what I say to our team is that, yes, we can make recommendations, but it has to resonate with you. You find somebody that resonates with your, with what you're looking to learn. And I think that we always have to be in a learning process, or we dry up. Mm. We get to a point where we're saying the same thing over and over again. Okay, yes, we want to repeat our system, but we want to become more efficient in our skills. So I think that whenever we have a chance that we can take a course or we can read a book, I've got several of them right by my bedstand right now that I have to get to. Honestly, they're sitting there. I haven't gotten to them yet. But the point is that they're all focused on the expansion of my technology skills.
That's awesome. Let's shift the conversation a little bit and to business success and the human side of it. Has there been a time, or if you can think back, when was the last time you struggled with prosperity or abundant thinking? And when you were in that place, how did you push through it or move through that?
I think that we had a recent situation a couple of years ago where we made a decision that the company we were with was going in a different direction. And honestly, I never, ever, 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 ever thought that we would get to that place. But there was a new ownership team that came on board, and it just became very evident. And of course, having reached the levels that we had reached and have the team that we had, and we now are saying to ourselves, okay, what is the most important thing to us in making a change? And that relates to what happened next. And the number one thing was integrity. One thing, I was just talking this morning to someone and saying how reputation and integrity are 2 priceless attributes. Trust, integrity, priceless. Okay. So now we look for that situation. We find it a situation that really excited us. And the point was that we then had to rebuild a whole system. So there was a period of time where, the income was certainly not what it was. And of course, that puts you a little bit of a tailspin there in your head. But the idea was that, and this is where I think David and I really build off of each other, is that we both have vision. Mm. And I feel that it's so important, and I'm asking men and women to look at their own personal relationships with their spouse or their significant other, or even the people in their team, and say, it doesn't make any sense to complain about a situation. It's about finding a solution. So as different situations have come up, I've always had the objective in mind of, okay, this is the issue. We've got to find a solution. This is what's happening. Let's find a solution. Okay. I'm not somebody that sits around and just moans and complains. It just doesn't work for me, because I can turn the heat on in this house faster than you can imagine, and we can all be sitting there and exploding. But that's not going to benefit anyone, and that's not productive. So yes, we have had, and even in the last couple of years, Terry, we've had, prosperity issues come up in our heads, and then we've had to turn around and say, yes, but we're taking these steps, okay, to change that. We're taking these steps to expand our business, to give us a better foundation than what we had previously, which would not have been a prosperous decision to stay. And sometimes you have to deal with that, because ultimately that thing blew up anyhow. I'm sad, very sad to say. And today we're in it's just such a beautiful place to be when you know that you've got integrity, you've got good people around you, you've got people who really genuinely care about how the business is being run, and they care about you personally. And to me, I've always found myself highly connected to the ownership of the company, because that's where, it all comes together. And I want to be surrounded by people who feed the vision. Okay, not sit back and just take a lack of active interest. I'm very active. I'm very involved. I want to be involved in the strategic decisions that are made. Okay, because I will pour my entire energy into it, and all my energy into my team to do what's ever necessary to build that marketplace. So I've got to know precisely exactly where things are going.
So vision has played a key role in your overall success. Is that true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a realistic vision. What I mean is that, we're looking at expanding into markets. Okay. We're looking at the real logistics of what it takes to do that, to expand into new markets, putting the right people together. So I've been involved in that aspect of it as well. And then, all the little mechanisms that go into that to roll it out, it just doesn't wake up one day and go, poof, okay, there's an operation in place. And I find that fascinating. Okay, that's another part of it. I find all that fascinating. Being able to pull this together and that together, and seeing how, every country and all the different regulations that are necessary. I still have a little bit of that corporate consulting background in me. And I feel as though I can contribute there. So it makes sense.
Has meditation played a role in your success at all?
I wish I could say it does. It does for David. My husband has been in meditation for over 30 years, probably closer to 40 years at this point. It's something he has to do every day. He just feels totally discombobulated. Probably should.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. You guys are working together as a powerful team. And the fact is that, what works for you, is different for him, and vice versa. And that's important to understand. Let's say somebody is perhaps stuck in their business, and they're stuck financially. They believe in the business model, like you've said, but they maybe have had success and now they're too old, they think, or it's just not coming into alignment. It's just not working. What advice or a couple of action steps could you give that person who believes in it but is getting nowhere fast, if that makes sense?
I find that most of the time, Terry, when people have reached that plateau, and it's usually, it can be any level, but it's usually at a place that they are doing what they're comfortable doing. Okay? So then we sit down and we say, okay, I have strategy sessions with them. And I say to them, okay, what are your normal activities? How are you approaching people? There's two sides to our business. One is recruiting members, obviously, but the other side of it has become even more important today, is developing customers. It's become a really, really, really exciting part of our business. So if you look at those two pieces and say, okay, what are you doing? What is your normal activity to do that? And I think that this is where a lot of people get stagnated, is that they keep doing the same thing they've always done. And so we'll sit back and I'll tell them some stories, of how people have had breakthroughs. Okay, I just have a gal, a terrific gal. I mean, she wants this so bad, has no experience in network marketing, which is, amazing. She is always very kind of introverted. This is not something she really felt comfortable. And she said, she can count the number of people she knows in 2 hands. I heard that. And she called all of them. So, which we hear a lot. So we sat down and we came up with an idea that I said, well, how about doing lives? Whoa, that was like, whoa. So I said, okay, I got another idea. Start a couple of people, which she did, using the products, and had her interview them. I said, and these happened to be really cool people that she had a great attraction to. You know, people with great credibility who have really nice experience and exposure in social media. So she went and sat down, she set up interviews and interviewed all of them. Okay, she was able to do that with her comfort level. And do you know what happened? Things started to explode for her. Okay, she started to develop relationships because these people were really open with the idea of what this has done for them and how they were excited about it. And she developed a lot of new relationships through their contacts. So by just coming up with a strategy that would be within her comfort level as it was then, now she's doing Zooms. Okay, now she's doing, I see her on Facebook now doing lives. So by just saying, okay, I'm not going to force you, not going to push you to do something you're not comfortable with. But after a while, she started to see that she had just as great a story to tell as they did. Instead of hiding her story, she started to shout her story. Okay, and tell people about her experience. And the other day, she's standing on stage telling her story. If I tell you that I had tears in my eyes. There were actually 3 ladies that were in the exact same situation. Okay, none of them would be comfortable doing the social media thing on their own. Maybe one of them had a little more, tendency to use it. But all of a sudden, they're standing on stage telling their story, and they're with pride, with standing straight, standing tall, telling their story. And I think that comes down to, how we coach people. And we give people a sense that you're there with them. Okay. And in order to prepare for that event, we talked about everything. We had a Zoom call. We talked about their timing. We're going to talk about what are their 3 major points they're going to talk about. So I got them thinking about specific things that they wanted to express. We even talked about what to wear. Okay, I know it sounds crazy, and some of you are saying, oh, that's so elementary. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And the team energy that came out of that is exploding. Now they're known all throughout the company. They're being asked for their input, for their suggestions. I mean, these are 3 women that are going, whoa. Okay, so you talk about breakthroughs. Sometimes it's just giving people a sense that you are really with them. It's not the blah, blah, but you're going to support them. A good friend of mine once said in one of his talks that, and it was surprising, he said 10,000 network marketers were interviewed and asked, what is the number one thing that they're looking for? The number one thing. Is it the company? Is it the ownership? Is it the product? Is it the compensation plan? The number one thing they were looking for, hands-on support. Hands-on support. So you look at hands-on support, and then you look at social media and all the things, all the technology. Let's not forget that that is a tool of attraction, but it still comes down to developing relationships and giving people a sense that you're going to be with them. You're going to be with them to the point where they can do it themselves. Okay, and when people feel that, they really feel that, Terry, I'm telling you, you'll see eagles start to fly. I've had people who've reached out to me, down to me, to give me that leg up. They're giving me skill sets that I will be forever grateful for. You mentioned, Randy Gage, Art Jonak, those guys, Mark Januszewski is another guy. I mean, these are people that you're familiar with, and they are the greatest guys for reaching out and helping you to rise yourself, in your business, in the profession. And so it's our job then to turn around and do that for someone else. That's what changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody feels maybe alone and overwhelmed with all the social media stuff, they simply don't have the financial abundance thinking that they want. They think their future looks dim. And what advice would you give that person?
You know, that's a big question. It's a good question, but it's a big question because really, do you know what? It comes down to you making that decision. I can give influence. I can motivate, help somebody, inspire them, give them a point of view, make them feel better. But the ultimate decision, Terry, has to come from that person. You know, I've seen situations where I've faced this exact same situation as other people in our profession. And I look at it one way and another person looks at it another way. Another person decides to focus on all the negative, how this is not going to work, how this is not going to be transferred, how this is not, how da, 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 da. And I look at it and say, okay, where can we find the solution here? Okay, well, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like you've got to take steps back. It's like you're not happy with the way your weight is, and you're not happy with your physical, presence. You got to change that. I can't do that for you. You can't do it for anyone. Well, it's the same thing with your mindset. Okay, and that has to do with look around and who you're hanging out with. If they're beating you up day in and day out, right then and there is a time to go look for some new people. And also I say, stand up for yourself and don't allow somebody to talk to you like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the number one thing that I say to people all the time. You have a choice. You have a choice. This is what makes us human. We have a choice as to how we perceive things. Okay, and if that means getting up every morning and listening to something that's going to change, rewire, okay, that head. Like when I first started, I never did this before, listen to audios and that sort of thing. When I came out of corporate America, somebody went to my first meeting and there was a guy there with a table and he had all these different cassette albums. Terry, okay, remember those? Anyhow, but we turned our car, every time we drove in and drove out of that Lincoln Tunnel, we turned it into, I couldn't wait to get in the car to put on a Jim Rohn. I couldn't wait to get into the car to play somebody else, to play Dwayne Dyer. I couldn't wait to get in the car because by the time I got to the Lincoln Tunnel, I was like, I was already in a different headspace. Mm. Okay, and there are people like that today. You need to have a daily feeding of that. Okay, and when people say, you hear people say all the time, 30 minutes of personal development in the morning, whatever that is. Sometimes you just turn, hello, Google. Okay, Google. Sometimes I just, oh, here she comes. Okay, Google. I'm getting dressed and I'm getting ready for this interview, or I'm getting ready for a Zoom call with my team. I want to get in the right mindset. Yes, you can go to sleep now. I want to get in the right mindset. So, I'll have her play some kind of music that is going to put me in a positive state. So we have to take responsibility for that. That's not something that we can, say to you, it's time to get up and make the donuts every morning. That ain't going to work. This is your business. Okay, it's you're responsible to your team, but not for them, to the people that you bring into the business. But nothing is more exciting than when you present that and they start to eat that. And they start to take that in. They realize that that's an important part of the development. It's not just a skill on what to say when you invite someone. It's the mental state that you invite somebody with.
Mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. Okay, let's shift the conversation into a couple of lighter subjects. Let's say you had the ability to send everybody a text message about prosperity and abundance tomorrow morning. What would your message say to people who wanted to create more prosperity and abundance in their life?
I think that, first of all, the most wonderful thing that you can do for someone to make them feel good about them is just to say, I do this all the time with birthdays. And so I think the same thing can relate to finding something that you really admire about someone. You're great at that, by the way. Every message I get from you has a beautiful, inspirational feeling to it. And so I don't know if there's one, I wouldn't send the same thing to everyone, but I have been sending a lot of messenger messages to people, voice messages, not text messages, so they can hear my voice. They can hear the energy of what I have to say. And I do it because I want to go back and, you figure over the whole entire year, if you go and you say something wonderful to every friend on their birthday for an entire year, you touch everybody that's in your social media world. And so I try to do that every day, send them a voice message that tells them how I want to wish them a happy birthday. I'm so excited. I hope you're having a magical day. And I send you lots of hugs and kisses, and gosh, I'd love to catch up. And it has nothing more than that to it. And I think that that's a prosperity message, because you're just putting out a good vibe. And every person gets back to me, Terry. Every person gets back to me that listens to the message and says, oh, it was such a wonderful way to start my day. And I'm telling you, a voice message with your excitement and your joy in wanting to send them like a hug through the cyberspace will do more for your connection and creating authentic relationships.
I love that. That's strong. That's powerful. Yeah, voice messages are so much powerful and so easy. And I actually think they're faster than typing anyways.
Oh.
They are for me anyways, right?
And also, you can feel the emotion behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. In the last 5 years, Anne, has there been a new belief or behavior that you've adopted that has enhanced your prosperity or quality of life in any way?
I think it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. I really believe that the biggest part for me at this stage of my life is going back and realizing the relationships that I've built over the years. And being able to help people, actually introducing people to each other, where business people that can help each other. So it's kind of fun to do this because people are more genuinely wanting to help when you have been a wonderful source to them in the past. And I love doing this. So, I've introduced, my webmaster is a fantastic guy. And I've had so many people look at the web presence that we have now online and said, who does your web stuff? Because they know it's not me. Okay, I mean, Zoom and technology like that, I can figure out. But all the other stuff, so I've been introducing him to other people. Being able to give people great resources is something that I think has been it's more about giving out than it is about taking in, because when you give out and you help other people, it comes back to you. And I've had people come back to me and say, I remember when you gave me a book. This one guy he was in my team, we figured out 25 years ago. 25 years ago, he was in my team, and he was an immigrant in a country. And I gave him his first network marketing book, and I recognized him for the first time. And he had never had anybody recognize him before. Here he is today. He owns a company, a network marketing company in 35 countries. He's a multi-millionaire. And every time he gets on there, he says, I'll never forget that book you gave me. It changed my life. So what is prosperity today or before? You sit back, and especially at stages of your life when you say, what can I do to help somebody else? Because if you're having a crappy day, and we all do, we all have crappy days, okay? And I'm telling you, I can take a crappy day and turn it into a magically crappy day if I choose to. But I would rather take a crappy day and turn it around by going and helping someone else. So that's the moment when you get up. In my case, you put the makeup on, you fix your hair, and you go and you help somebody. Because then all of a sudden your state changes. And I think that's probably one of my more mature lessons in life that has turned out to be something really positive for me personally.
That's where the fulfillment comes in, is giving and helping and supporting people. Okay, here's a fun question for you. Is there an unusual habit or thing that you love, Ann?
An unusual habit. Yeah, my unusual habit is I hate working out. The secret. I hate to work out. So I figured out, this is where you have to be solution oriented, right? I figured out, because I would walk, we have a little gym downstairs. I made it so convenient, Terry, that I could walk down the steps into our basement and have all the equipment that I wanted. And I could also walk right past that door, turn my head and pretend it wasn't there. So I had to figure out what I could do so that I would go down there and work out and it would work for me. So my crazy habit is that one of my Yorkies runs on the treadmill. I taught him how to run on the treadmill. And I will go and I'll say, okay, come on, let's go work out. Well, he's so excited about going to work out that David is hysterical. He gets so excited, he runs over to the door. He's so excited. So then I get excited because he's excited. He runs down the steps, you know, and then I give him a treat and then he lunges for, he's only 4 pounds. He lunges for the treadmill. And I turn the treadmill on and I put some music on and he's running on the treadmill. He's looking over to me like, hey, hey, hey. And I get like this little yip, like, hey, yip, 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 get going. So I start doing my upper body or lower body, whatever I'm working on that day. And then he runs anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, you know, at his speed. And then when I'm finished, he gets another little treat. And then he sits there and he waits for me. So I had to figure out how I could motivate myself. So I put two things together. Okay. And I love spending time with them. And he's so he's absolutely adorable. You might even catch a video of him on one of my Facebook pages. But anyhow, he's my motivation. So that's one of my little crazy, quirky things that I do in order to do something that I know is good for me.
I love it. I love it. And you're held accountable by him too, right?
Yes. Yes. And then it's so funny because if I'm sitting there too long, like I get lost in thought in something or somebody calls, because I have done that, I've accepted a call, he'll be sitting there going, and he'll start yipping. And it's his little yip. It's not a bark. It's like a yip, 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 yip. He's adorable. So he's kept me on target on that.
I love it. Has there been a mantra or something you've repeated over and over to yourself over the years that kept you focused, kept on track, kept your, in alignment with your vision? Do you have anything like that?
I have a couple of different things that I say that to myself, and I have them posted in my mirror in my bathroom when I get up in the morning. And so, I kind of go over them, run through them. I change them around. I have little cards, things, and there's a lot of them. But they mostly have to do with how I feel about myself, how I want to project myself out there in the world, how I want to also to interact with other people, looking for the positive things versus the negative. And I find that really helpful. And I get up in the morning and I'm real music oriented. I think that comes from growing up with musicals on the stereo all the time in our household when I was growing up. David being in the music business. So I love having music around. So I choose upbeat music. We Are the Champions. I love Queen. So I have a lot of We Are the Champions and dun, 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 We Will Rock You. And I know you'd probably look at me and think, she can't be a real rocker at heart. I am so much a rocker with black leather, you can't imagine. So, those are the kinds of things, that get me going. And those are my mantras, and I love that kind of anthem kind of music.
I love it. I love it. You are a magical woman. I tell you that. I just love your energy and who you are. And I want to say thank you so much, Ann, for spending so much time with us today. I know our viewers, listeners, readers have gotten a ton out of it. If somebody wants to connect with you, Ann, what's the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way, I think, is Messenger. I'm on Facebook. I also have, it's Ann Feinstein, Facebook /Ann Feinstein. I have a Facebook fan page. you're more than welcome to go there. Ann Feinstein, what is it, facebook.com/Ann Feinstein fan club, something like that, fan page. And then I also have a website, and you're free to get, I have lots of trainings on there, free trainings that I've done. Some of them are related to what I was talking about in terms of social media, some hot boosting tips for expanding your social media presence. And that's at Ann Feinstein, FEINSTEIN.com, Ann, ANN, Feinstein.com. And then you're more than welcome to go through those trainings and take a look there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ann, thank you again so much. You've shared so many pearls of wisdom here. It's just unbelievable. You're definitely a giver. I appreciate who you are and you being that positive example for our profession that really raises the bar for all of us. So thank you for being you, Ann.
Well, thank you, Terry. It's a pleasure.
All right. My friend, I know you got value out of today's interview. I don't even have to ask you if you did. If you want to get access to more interviews like this, just go to terrypetrovick.com/mentors, and you can get plugged into other interviews that we got going on. Remember this, my friend, you have a choice. Make it a better than terrific day and a prosperous one, because you absolutely deserve it. Until next time, bye-bye for now.